of its liberation plan. The Ambazonia Governing Council is the only movement in the liberation struggle with a political leadership and a defense force known both by the international community and by the occupier. The AGovC is the most trusted, credible, and stable leadership trusted by the international community to guide the Ambazonian people, bring the Ambazonian people to foster unity and collaboration within movements to create and get the territory ready for post-independence political stability. Today, the Vice President of Ambazonia Governing Council will be introducing to the Ambazonian people and the international community Ambazonia's partners in Washington, D.C. to represent the interest of Ambazonia and the interest of the Ambazonia Governing Council. Here is the Vice President of the Ambazonia Governing Council, Dr. Julius Nye.
Where you might find yourself. Special greetings to General Bush in Oku. Special greetings to General Man Pikin in Dian. I'm your humble servant, Dr. Julius Nye, and today I will be bringing to you one of the finest people in Washington, D.C. that would be advancing the cause of the Ambazonian quest for freedom. The time is right to bring on board partners that can bid for Ambazonia. The time is right because we have humbled the enemy, we have raised our voices, and the international community has noticed us. In order to leverage from the achievements we've made thus far, in order to make sure that we get to our destination faster, we have partnered with a strategic firm in order to advance strategic diplomacy. And that firm is no other than Moran Global Services. I would like to introduce you to Moran Global Services, MGS, Chairman or President, in the name of Congressman Mr. Jim Moran. Honorable Congressman, you're welcome to the platform.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It is a delight to be with you and your colleagues and representatives of the Ambazonian people. I am delighted, honored to be able to play some supportive role in Ambazonia's efforts to free itself from the repression that you are currently experiencing, the leadership of Cameroon that is not representing your interests, and to help bring you to a place where the people you represent can have their own governance, have the ability to speak their own language, to be taught in their own language and culture, and hopefully deliver that result with a minimum of bloodshed and conflict. We all share values, I believe, and those values include peace, respect for human rights, and individual dignity and fair representation. Now, someone who I'm very proud and happy to work with is the gentleman that has introduced me to Ambazonia and its issues. And that's Mr. Elias Gerasoulis. Elias is well known in Washington. He's well connected, particularly with people in the State Department and on Capitol Hill. And Elias is my partner. And at this point, I would like to turn over and introduce you to Mr. Gerasoulis. But I appreciate your recognition and the opportunity to address you and those folks that are on this call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman Moran, thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President. It's an honor to address you and through you, the people of Ambazonia today. This is a great honor for us. We've had the opportunity to represent other pro-democracy and independence movements in the continent of Africa, in particular, as you're aware of, the Biafra Public Government in Exile, which is advocating for the freedom for the people of Biafra, which is an independence movement, and also the Eritrean Government in Exile, which is not an independence movement, given that Eritrea is an independent country, but a pro-democracy movement to liberate the country from a 30-year dictatorship. In the case of Ambazonia, you have both a desire for independence, to have your own country where you can govern yourselves, where you can, as Mr. Moran so rightly said, speak your own language, practice your own culture, but also liberation from one of the worst dictatorships in Africa, in the Biya authoritarian regime, which is ruled La République du Cameroun for decades and has brutally oppressed both the people of Ambazonia and of broader Cameroon in one of the worst anti-Anglophone dictatorships that we've ever seen. And I think you will have, in both myself and Congressman Moran, not just your lobbyists in Washington, but people who are fellow comrades, people who care about your cause, people who understand your issues, and people who will represent you in terms of a broader goal. I think Ambazonia and other movements in Africa, you are the new hopes of Africa in the 21st century. We had in the 1960s independence movements in Africa, which the U.S. supported because the U.S. understood, especially with President John F. Kennedy, that it was the right thing for the United States to help liberate Africa from European colonialism, and also in the strategic interests of the United States. And I think in the 21st century, you, Mr. Vice President, the other leaders represent the new independence leaders of Africa in the 21st century to this time liberate Africa, not necessarily from colonialism, but neocolonialism. And we will be happy to work with you to achieve what I think is both a moral imperative, but also a strategic imperative for the United States. This is both the right thing to do for the U.S. to support Ambazonia, but also in our own strategic interests as well. So this is a win-win situation. We look forward to establishing a close relationship between the United States and Ambazonia. And once we have full understanding and support of the U.S. government, I believe we will have a free and independent Ambazonia, because as I've said publicly before, where the U.S. leads, others follow, right? So I do believe once the U.S. throws its weight behind Ambazonia, and I think we could significantly expedite that process by our direct contacts with the Congress, with the administration, with the think tank community here in Washington, that we can make very significant progress in a short period of time and move towards what we want to achieve, which is a free and independent Ambazonia. So the people of Ambazonia should know that we're with them, that we're their voice in Washington, and we're their fellow comrades. So I want to thank you and say what a delight and an honor it is to be involved in your cause.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Moran and Mr. Elias. I just have one more question for each of you before we end this brief introduction of your honorable service to the Ambazonian people, that we will always remain indebted to your call to partner with us to make sure that Ambazonians' aspirations are brought to fruition. So, Mr. Elias, first to you, please, before Honorable Moran. What motivated MGS to partner with Ambazonia and the Ambazonian Governing Council?
Yes, what I would say, it was a few factors. It is in the interests of the United States to support the Ambazonian cause, and we felt that we could play a helpful role in facilitating the relationship. We, and myself in particular, have been very involved in Africa, people in the African space, including working with people in the executive branch, the congressional branch. There was a great desire here in Washington to have more streamlined contacts with Ambazonia in order to expedite progress on the Ambazonian issue. And in terms of the Ambazonian Governing Council in particular, I would say the reason why I thought and we thought to partner with the AGovC is you have an extraordinarily professional organization with extremely high quality people. Your organization is the premier Ambazonian organization. And again, as I've said, I'm very knowledgeable about the Ambazonian space, and both yourself and other people in the Ambazonian Governing Council are the utmost professionals. You're extraordinarily well structured as an organization, and that's important for our lobbying and what we're trying to do in Washington, because our State Department, our Congress, our White House, they want to know that they have a reliable, trustworthy, and competent counterpart on the other end. The U.S. government wants to work with people who are solid, people who we can trust. And that's the same that's true for lobbying firm too. You know, we want to represent people that we can be proud of and that we know have the capabilities and capacities to help run a movement as nuanced and complicated as the Ambazonian independence movement is. So I think it's a credit to both the interest in Washington, but also confidence in your organization, and specifically that I think has led us to this path, to partner with not just the Ambazonian people, but the Ambazonian people through the Ambazonian Governing Council. And I'll turn it over to Congressman Moran. Thank you.
Well,
yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I can provide a little broader context as well. I happen to be Irish, and the Irish were taken advantage of by the British Kingdom. We finally were able to achieve more autonomy, independence, of course, from England, and I'm very proud of the direction in which the Irish have gone. But throughout, the Irish have been able to relate to colonial oppression, even though it's been in the northern part of the planet. No continent has suffered more from colonialism than the African continent. And as a result, there is no continent where there is a greater disparity between the human and natural resources of a continent and the actual fulfillment benefiting the people who live there. The African continent has been exploited, has been abused, suppressed, and yet its population has grown. Most of its natural resources are still in place. And so the 21st century should be the century where the African people acquire their not only independence, but fulfill a greater deal of their potential, because their potential is enormous. Their intellect, their work ethic, and their value as individuals is what needs to now be developed. And that needs to be kept within the continent, among the people, among the local communities, not sent north to Europe or wherever. Cameroon can be an example of this kind of independence and fulfillment of opportunity. Right now, we have a division that only benefits the people who have directly benefited from the colonizers. This has to be rectified. I think it can be. Of course, I should say that in any conflict, the force that seizes the high ground invariably prevails. And that isn't just militarily or geographically, it's also morally. And so I hope we can be a facilitator for the people of Ambazonia to get together, to unite, because in unity there is strength, but also to set an example for the rest of the Cameroonian people that those living in Ambazonia are good people, want to do right, don't want to hurt people, abuse them, let alone be cruel to them, but they have a right to exist. They have a right to their own individual and communal identity. So that is our objective, and we want to work with you in achieving that objective, because I think if you can set an example for other people throughout the continent, it will have implications that go far beyond Ambazonia, that will spread throughout the continent of Africa, and it's about time. And so we would like to play even some small role in achieving that objective.
Thank you so much, Honorable Moran and Mr. Elias. And finally, I think it would be nice for you people to tell the Ambazonian people who is MGS, Moran Global Services, what do you do, and who do you represent? Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to Congressman Moran.
ahead.
And by the way, Congressman Moran, I just want to mention, if I recall correctly, Mr. Vice President, you are based in Ireland, so there's that common connection as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
I did not know you were in Ireland. I'm glad I mentioned Ireland. That's
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Elias. So I was mayor of a city called Alexandria, Virginia. It's across the river from Washington, D.C. I spent 24 years then in the United States Congress. I was active on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Foreign Operations Appropriations, and especially on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. And as a result, I've taken a deep interest in foreign affairs and the role that the U.S. plays, should play, and can play in the lives of other people. Not exploitive, but empowering. And so I worked for a couple of large law firms and then set up my own firm so I could hire people like Elias and others. We have about a dozen people associated with us. I have represented the state of Qatar for it's now about 8 years since they were subject to a blockade, and that has been successfully overcome thanks to a strong embassy and good people and doing the right thing. And I'm glad I could play some role in that. I also represent other clients, many of them in the defense sector, General Electric, General Dynamics, General Atomics. I don't represent General Motors, but a lot of other generals. About half a dozen other technology firms, a company called Salesforce, and 20 arts groups in Washington, D.C. So it's a broad-based clientele, but we particularly like to be involved in things that are meaningful so that we can act purposefully. and that's why we're here today, because we hope, we intend to play a supportive role in achieving your common objectives.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elias and Honorable Moran. We, the Ambazonian people, and especially the Ambazonian Governing Council, look forward to working with you. We thank you so much for finding time within your busy schedule to come and present yourself and your partnership with the Ambazonian people to realize their aspirations. We believe that your partnership with us is a noble call. It's a call for justice. It's a call for human rights. It's a call for you to stand with the people whose rights, whose identity, whose culture, whose being has been trampled upon for more than 60 years. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.